for Malcolm. Where we're going, we don't need roads.
I was wondering if you could imagine sitting in a movie theater and watching this movie while sitting next to Malcolm X. Sam Cooke, Cassius Clay, Jim Brown, and when it's over, lean over and say, okay, what did you think about how I did this? What is the aspect of your performance you would love to get his thoughts about?
Oh, I thought that he'd be most proud in all my research. I thought he'd be most proud if I showed how bad he was, man. You know, Sam wasn't nothing to play with. And it was very stars and celebrity back in the day, especially for Black celebrities, it was very manicured. What they showed the American public, what the American public was willing to accept from a Black star, you can imagine, was very, very limited. And so Sam had a cool and, just a perfectly manicured image, but behind the scenes, that brother was a firebrand, and I really wanted to honor that about him because it's who he was.
I think the actor in me would probably resist asking for too many opinions of what Malcolm may or may not have thought about the performance. What I'd be much more interested in finding out, though, like, would be like what was actually going on at the time, like what was going through your mind. Did you feel scared? What was it like? Did you really know that your life was in danger? How strong was the sense that your time was coming to an end? How much did you miss your children? What was the feeling between you and Betty? I just the Malcolm's humanity and the private side of him, like outside of the media, is what really became my central focus in preparation for this. And I think just with any parts, it's always the humanity of the man's what's interested me.
The boxing.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, like the opening, kind of like the boxing match.
Yeah. I mean, because that's, he was the greatest of all time. So it's, I'm sure I already know just from watching it myself, there are so many things that I go, man, I wish I had done this or that. But hopefully there were some elements of it that he would be, that he'd be okay with. At a certain point in the training process, it was really cool because we didn't train to learn how to fight like Cassius. We just trained to learn how to box. And then we tried to layer on certain elements of Cassius as we got closer to the shoot. And I realized that everyone kind of looked at him as someone who didn't follow the rules, but that's actually not true. He had a very classic stance, Queensberry boxing stance, but he relaxed it because he realized his reflexes were so quick that he didn't need to stay rigid. He could release it, and he knew when and where to follow the rules and break the rules. And if you got within his range, he would cover up. So I realized that at a certain point, and it made portraying his boxing so much more authentic to me.
I don't think I would ever sit and watch this sitting next to Jim Brown. I would be sitting way in the back where he can't see me because I would be too nervous, Because even if he's just sitting there and he's like, I'm like when you sit like with the what I was getting from the was that I didn't do that right. Is that what you're saying? Like I would be way too nervous, man. But no, actually, just be honestly, it would be an honor to sit and watch it with him and see how he felt about it. Right. We haven't spoken directly about this, but I heard through the grapevine that he saw it and that he approved. So I'm happy about that. But I'm sure he would probably have something to say, maybe about I don't know, maybe just about my swag, my vibe. You know what I mean? Just like I was much cooler than that, man.
Dude, you had some swag in this movie, man. What I love about this movie is that it is this really great sort of what if. Like we know that these four guys hung out one night, but we don't really know what they talked about. We don't know what was brought up. So to that point, if you could know something for sure about that night that the four of them were together, what is the thing that you would like to definitively have answered for you?
Oh, I would love to know what Sam really, to know for sure what he thought about the decision Cassius was going to make. I mean, Kemp, Kemp was a journalist like you. Kemp Powers, the man that wrote the script, and so it is thoroughly researched. So everybody's position in that room is based on positions they'd held prior to that, what the things that they did after that night. So it is, the reason why I think the film is so believable is because this is what we know of these men. So I imagine that Kemp was pretty on the money, but I would really love to know what because that was a radical thing that Cassius was doing. So the day after you just become the heavyweight champion of the world, which no one was expecting or wanted really, you were not favored to win. Now you're going to go out there and change your name to Cassius X. Like, hang on a second. So
I think absolutely what you just said. What is the conversation that you guys really had? But I would ask Malcolm, why did you pick these three men specifically to meet in this room? Why specifically these three?
I guess I would wonder if Cassius ever did waver, if he ever did question whether or not he was going to tell the public the next day, because I feel like from the research I've done, he had planned to let the press know for quite a while that he was going to declare that he had joined the Nation of Islam. So I would be interested to know if that was just our creative liberties, or if that was actually something that he did question.
Do you know what I would love? I would have loved to have just sat in the man's company. I would have had no question. I would have just to watch him operate as a human being. I heard he had such a wonderful sense of humor, and I got to see a part of that in my sort of research and from watching Malcolm, particularly in the footage we have of him in Harlem with the community there. And like, I spent so much time watching him that, he had me in hysterics. He's a real funny dude. And like, I would have just loved to have spent time with him just generally. I think that would have been the greatest honor.
All four of you guys make this movie. It's one of the most incredible ensemble pieces I've seen in such a long time. And as you guys enter the awards season, the downside of it is that it's, and this is sometimes why I hate like awards, is that they're pitting your performances against each other, which I'm not crazy about because all of you guys are all so good for different reasons. I'm curious, have you guys had kind of like, as you were gearing up to go into the awards season, have you had a conversation amongst each other? Like, all right, we're about to get into each other, because I hate this idea that all four of you are so unbelievably good, but we're at a point where they're about to start competing you guys against each other.
Oh, that's a great question. Thanks for asking it. We haven't. We love each other, and my performance is made up of, sure, the research that I did, but it is made up of Kingsley and Aldis and Eli and Regina and Kemp and our dialect coach Trey Cotton. It is as a result of them. So I think we all know that, and we'll let the chips fall how they may.
I think there was some very brief conversations a few months ago about category placement that sort of like I saw on an email chain. But, that stuff is so like, it's kind of surreal and so foreign. It's just, however it sort of, whatever happens and however it comes about, the most important thing in this for me was the process and journey, as an actor and working with Regina and getting to spend as much time as I did with Malcolm. I mean, literally, it was a life-changing acting experience. And I had a really strong sense when I finished this film that like, no matter what happened, like if anyone saw it, because Amazon didn't own it at that time, I was the experience that Regina gave me and that we all had together in our collaboration was the most important part of all of this by far. So anything else, in terms of awards and all of that stuff, it's great for business and it means that more people, the film will reach more people, and that can only be, something to celebrate.
We haven't, but I think we are all aware that kind of thing is going to be talked about and that it's totally out of our control and that it's totally subjective. So there's really no point in us, having any conversation amongst ourselves because what we think really doesn't even matter. I think we're just enjoying this process. We're enjoying the reception that we're getting because it's all been so positive and full of love. And anything else on top of that is just a blessing.
Nah, man, we haven't even breached that conversation. It's never even come up because I think we're just trying to get through to the premiere to show to show people. But however it comes, like regardless of what happens, when we come up, man, we all got support for each other. So I mean, if we're lucky enough and blessed enough to be in the runnings in any kind of way of consideration, like we just got each other's back, however it goes.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.